thanks for joining us again for another weekly Q&A. I have actually invited an old friend of mine, which is so funny to say that because you're way younger than me, but that's okay. I'm going to use the word old for now. Marcy Greenberg Cox. Hi, Marcy.
Hi.
I am so glad you said you would do this. So crazy. We worked together 100 years ago.
Right.
It seems like yesterday, but actually it was many years ago in Phoenix, right?
Yeah, it was probably, I've been doing real estate like 20 years, so it's probably been like 22 years. Yeah, right?
I am not that old. I don't know how you got that old, but that's not me. Actually, you are much younger than me. And this is why I love Facebook. We were able to find each other. And then one day you made a post on Facebook that kind of rocked me. I'm pretty sure it rocked you. And what was that post? Do you remember?
Probably my YouTube video of me posting that I found out I had breast cancer.
Yeah. And how old were you when you found that out?
I was 40.
40, so young. Mm-hmm. In my book, that's young. And plus, you look like you're 27, by the way.
Thank you.
You look 27, maybe 28.
I bet you still the hairdo now.
That's it. I bet you still get carded, don't you?
Yeah.
You were 40 and you actually had 2 kids at the time?
Yep, 2 kids. Yeah, my littlest, I think she was just about 1.5 when I found out.
Yeah. And what precipitated you finding out that you had breast cancer?
Well, so 2 years prior to that, I actually had found a lump on the right side of my breast. And of course, you freak out.
Yeah.
And so I went in and we got my first mammogram. So it was 38 when I had my first mammogram, and they found out it was just a fibroid. So, whatever, didn't do anything for 2 years because, normal getting your mammogram is 40.
Yeah.
And so I was in the shower with my oldest one day and said, let's do a self-exam. And I hardly ever did self-exams. And so I did, and I felt something, and I yelling at my husband, I need you to feel my boob. So I get out of the shower because I freak out because I'm like, yeah, I started working out more because, I wanted to get rid of the baby fat. So I was like, oh, maybe I just strained a muscle or something, So I had him feel it because we were going through like the baby has food allergies and all this issues. And so it's like, oh, one more thing,
Yeah.
What is this thing on my boob, And I made him feel it, and he goes, you better go to the doctor. So I did.
Wow. But good for you. That's the whole point, right? Is we actually like to talk about knowing you're normal, right? So if it's different than you normally have, go get it checked. Oh, so were you able to catch it early?
Yes and no. So after I got checked, I went into my gynecologist, and she felt around and, kind of looked up from when I last did. And she thought, it's probably the fibroid. It probably grew back, even though it was on the other side. This time around, it was on the left side. Mm-hmm. So she goes, well, we're going to just get you in for a mammogram and stuff. So the strange thing is that I called, and now they're all with the 3Ds, but they couldn't get me in for 3 weeks. But then in the back of my head, I was like, you don't want to wait around 3 weeks. So I called back in. I said, could you do the other one? Let's just get in. If they find something else, then I'll worry about doing a 3D. And so, they got me in, right away. And thank goodness. And I remember sitting there, and the radiation doctor, she said to me, she goes, can you sit around for another hour? And I'm like, for what?
Yeah.
She goes, well, I want to do a biopsy. We found something, and I just want to check things out. So of course, I start freaking out. No one's with me because I'm thinking it's just a normal, like, let's do a mammogram, everything will be fine. So I had to go back into the waiting room, and, I'm calling my husband, I'm calling my aunt, and freaking out. And so, then they did the biopsy, which of course hurt. You still remember the, well, I guess I don't really remember the sound, but I just remember the clipping of my boob area. And, then one nurse just holding my hand and everything. And she's like, it'll be fine. And of course, the radiologist says to me, well, so I went in on a Wednesday, and she goes, you'll find out by Friday. And the nurse looks at me after she left. She goes, "You'll find out tomorrow." And I said, "Okay." I'm like, peace of mind, I'm like, peace
Yeah.
of mind. They really need to give you like a stuffed animal or something in that room. You know what I mean? To squeeze, because it
Yeah.
really is painful.
That's a great
Um,
idea, by the way.
yeah, yeah,
Yet another idea you've come up with. Look at you. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I mean, so when I found out, so then, I'm waiting around all day. So I'm waiting around all day Thursday. I'm like freaking out. And I'm very anxious anyway and high, like nervous and things like that. And so I'm finally calling. It was like 3:40, 3:30, because my daughter had a swim lesson that day. And we're sitting there at Aqua Tots. And I called my husband. I said, should I call? I still haven't heard anything. And I had put some calls in and they hadn't gotten the response back. And so I finally called, and I'm sitting in the Aqua Tots. And she gets on the phone and she goes, well, hold on, let me go check. I'll be right back. And then she gets back on the phone and she goes, I am so sorry. She goes, you have cancer.
Ugh.
And my heart just dropped. I was like, I'm thinking, what? And then, luckily my daughter hadn't gone into her class yet. I grabbed her, I'm like, we're leaving. And all of a sudden I just started crying. Like, I'm sure like all the people in the room were like, what's going on with her? Cause I've taken the baby and I've got her in the car seat. I'm pulling the other one, she's still in her bathing suit. I'm like getting in the car. I just started crying hysterically.
Oh.
And my oldest Lily, so she was 5, was like, Mommy, why are you crying? I just kept saying to her, everything's going to be fine. Mommy's going to be fine. We're going to fix it. We're going to be fine. And I'm just freaking out. I get on the phone with my aunt, because I called my brother. And of course, my brother's like, freaking out when I was doing the biopsy, because he kept calling my aunt going, is she going to be fine? Like, does she have breast cancer? And I called my aunt. I said, you got to call Steven. You got to call him. I can't call him, and my parents, I could not tell my parents. They were in Israel.
Mm.
And I didn't want to spoil their vacation.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So I had to wait a week. So I did the YouTube video and I couldn't post it yet until I talked to my parents. So the minute they got back, my brother and I had this whole plan. We're going to, he'll go over to their house, we'll ask him how their trip was, and then we'll ease into it. Right. Get the word ease. Okay. Because we get on the phone, he's there at 7 a.m. So it's whatever time here, like 5 a.m. here. Cause of course, neither one of us could sleep. And he gets on the phone, he's FaceTiming. And my mom goes, she starts like freaking out. She goes, why is your brother here at 7 a.m? What's going on?
It would be suspicious for sure.
Right. Because I wouldn't answer any of her phone calls. After I found out, everyone's like, don't answer her phone call while she's in Israel.
Right.
So, she's like, what's going on? And all of a sudden, everything I start crying and I'm like, Mommy, I have breast cancer. And she's like, what? My dad's still in bed and he's yelling, what's going on? And she, my mom's yelling, Marcy has breast cancer, blah, blah, blah. And, we're all just kind of freaking out. And then she blames herself, because she was a smoker. She's like, she's like, everything goes in your head. It's my fault, blah, blah, blah. And who knows where any of us get it from, really?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And with my first one, I actually did fertility treatments because I couldn't get pregnant. So I was doing the shots. I was actually on Clomid for a year before I went to the fertility doctor. And when I went to the fertility doctor, she asked me that. She goes, how long were you on that? I said, almost a year. And she goes, that's not good. Like, what do you mean that's not good? She goes, it could lead to cancer. So then, of course, now I'm second guessing everything that I've done. You know what I mean? You're like, what? How did I get it? I love sweets. I'm like, did I eat too many sweets?
Yeah. It's what we do, right? It can't just be that this happens, right?
Right.
Unfortunately, but it is. It just happens.
Yeah.
It doesn't everything right. It has nothing to do with you personally.
No. And it doesn't run in my family.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it does not run in my family, but get ready for the goosebumps.
Okay.
Because after I went through all my treatments, my cousin had a baby and she is in her mid-30s. And she says to the doctor, I just, I hit my deductible. I've had a baby. My cousin just went through breast cancer. I want to have a mammogram. I just want to make sure I'm fine because she didn't have to pay for it. And so the doctor was like, again, you're not 40. You don't need to, but if that's what you want, fine. Guess what?
She has it too.
She found breast cancer.
Oh, well,
Stage
I'm
one,
glad
yeah, but I saved her life.
you did. You
Well,
totally.
like I get chills every time I tell that story. I get chills. You
And
know.
you know what? And it's funny because we battle a lot. And mind you, I'm not complaining about doctors. Doctors are wonderful. I have no complaints. But we do battle a lot. Well, you're only 37 years old, so you don't need the mammogram. But some people, now there's a reason to do it, so go do it. It's so interesting that that is the battle we're having
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
because catching it early is the key. And I did watch you and your journey through breast cancer from afar, but I was what's the word I'm looking for? I was amazed, let's use amazed, at how gracefully you did go through it. Now, it may have been different at home, and I get that, and you're allowed that, but you seem to be holding together really well.
Yeah, so I did. My main thing was I wanted to tell the world. I mean, I'm very open, and I'm big on social media. And so I did the YouTube videos, one, to heal myself, and two, I wanted to let other women know, what you're getting into. I mean, of course, everyone is going to be different. I remember going through, my first round of the Red Devil, and I was so sick. But then the next time, 2 weeks later, I was fine. So everyone is different. I mean, I've got a friend who's going through, well, she's fine now, but she was going through lung cancer. I mean, she was hospitalized a few times. So like, again, I said, everyone's going to be different with everything, but I wanted to, have that, not journey, but I wanted to, have that timeline of everything and just, explain. And I'm still doing them. I want people to see, even after the aftermath, even with my chemo, my radiation, I'm now on letrozole. I was on tamoxifen and I had a side effect. My doctor, he says to me, he goes, "Do you want to go buy a lottery ticket?" I go, "Why?" He goes, "Well, you're about 1 in 1,000 who gets the blood clot." He goes, out of all my patients, you're probably my third one in 8 years. So immediately I had to get off of that, and I had to, be on blood thinners for 6 months. And then, so I'm on letrozole, and then I do the Zolodox shot every 3 months. Now, some women do it monthly, some don't do it, so I want people in my YouTube videos to go, hey, now I'm 2 years later, but hey, I'm still having side effects. I'm still achy. I just finished up physical therapy because I couldn't even get up off the ground to play with my kids without in pain. Or just getting up in the morning, it takes me, maybe another 20 minutes after I wake up just to get out of bed because the bottoms of my feet hurt. And so I want people to realize, I may look normal, I may look fine, but really, like, I have mood swings, I'm achy, I'm whatever, like, it's still there, it still affects me.
Right. And unfortunately, you're still in that place where you still have to check do you still check every 6 months to make sure
No, I go every 3 months. So
every 3 months.
The Zolodex shot, I have to go every 3 months for 5 years. And so every time I go in, I see my doctor.
Okay.
So, that'll probably continue on through my whole Zolodex, and then probably go down, I don't know, 6 months to a year or something.
Right. But just something you need to keep up on now, unfortunately. But at least you're ahead of the game, and that's good. And you're here with us, and that's even better. So one day you popped up again on my social media, and I actually got a direct message from you about this Mommy Has a Boo Boo project. So tell me about that.
So I started probably the day or two after my diagnosis, I just started journaling. And I decided to have a double mastectomy and remain flat. So I didn't want to do any reconstruction. And so I was looking for children's books to read to my 5-year-old at the time, just to say, hey, mommy has cancer. And sure, there was a lot of books out there, but really none that I could find that touched base like, hey, mommy doesn't have any boobies. They all talk about, mommy has no hair or whatever, and that's fine. So I started writing this book, and 2 years later, I've now published it. And I've done a journal to actually go along with it. So it's a discussion journal / coloring book. so
Uh-huh.
that after you read it, then the parents can have that discussion. And it's a book of questions, hey, where's the boo-boo at? And it's got a picture of a woman's head or a leg, or the mom breastfeeding a baby so that you can point to the boob. And questions, I mean, you've got the hard question, are you going to die?
Right.
But you've got to have those discussions. And and so I wrote this book, and it's pretty much my story. Um, and just pretty much showing that, hey, even though mommy doesn't have any more boobies, she may be tired, but she's still there. She's still
Right.
your mommy. She's still the same person, despite looking different and feeling a little different. And that's the message I wanted to get out, to women, that, here's a way to help help your children, and hopefully to help them understand what mommy may or may not have to go through. Because again, I know not every woman has to go through chemo or radiation.
Sure.
But it's a starting piece. So the journal too, you could even do on your own. So if you don't want to get the book, you can just do the discussion questions. And again, you can go over some of the questions if it doesn't relate to you.
Right. But now, so what age range do you feel that this, like, what's probably too young? I feel any age, even an adult child, the ideas are still there, right? There's still questions
Yeah.
you're going to ask. So you may not do the coloring project, although I'm in my 50s and I still like to.
And people like to color. Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
just
so
telling you.
for example, so the book I actually wrote because, again, my kids, they're now 3 and 7. So
Okay.
they were 1 and 5. I mean, the 1-year-old really still probably doesn't grasp that mommy went through cancer.
Mhm.
I do have prosthetics, so they like to play with those. I won't let them play with the real ones because that costs a lot, even though
Yeah.
insurance covered it. But I've got the knitted knockers, so I let them, play around with it. But the book is probably geared towards 3 to 9, 10 years old.
Okay.
So they'll actually sit. It's an easy way to explain. And then
Right.
just so real quick, so like here's the journal. This one's a different cover. So, but just to kind of show you, I'm gonna just kind of prop open, like, like here's a discussion question. I don't know if you can see that.
There it is. Hold it closer to your body.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is that it?
perfect. Right there.
Right. I know, because of this background thing. So it
Yes.
says like here, draw your, okay, like mommy might have radiation. What is radiation? And then you have a
Oh.
discussion. And then I have some where you can have like, here's what can you do to help mommy feel better about losing her hair? And then I've got like hats, wigs that they can color. And then on the next page, draw your own ideas to help mommy.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that interaction.
That's wonderful. So I would recommend, and I don't know if you feel this way, if you have multiple children, you should get one workbook for each kid, right? So they can do their own.
Oh, yeah. If they want, yeah, so they can do their questions and answer. Yeah, that's actually, a really good point, so that they can each, I mean, obviously my 1-year-old's not gonna fill this out. I mean, she'll just whatever. But my 7-year-old loves it. I mean, she's like, I want to write in it, even though my journey is done. She's like, but she still goes through it and still asks me those questions. Like, why did you have to do that again? So.
Yeah. What a great question. And what a pure childlike question. But it's one we all ask. Why?
Yeah.
Why did you go through that? Well,
yeah. And I know there's some women that are afraid to talk about it. And
sure.
I mean, I've talked to some other friends and family, and they have, I've got one cousin who she's a teacher, and so the little girl or boy, I don't know, the student mom is also going through something. I don't know if it's breast cancer, but it's a cancer, and the mom won't really talk about it, and he's learning from it from somewhere else. So this is just an easy way to have those conversations.
Yeah.
Because your kids know something's going on.
Yes, they do. They notice immediately. They noticed you crying in the car, right?
I mean, I was very fortunate where my parents ended up coming to Arizona. They're snowbirds, so they actually have a house here. But my mom stayed for a year.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, my dad was also here. My brother actually flew in, and stayed. And, everyone worked, from home if they needed. But they would take my kids on the weekend during my chemo.
Yeah.
And because I mean, some families will want the kids to see everything. And I was okay. I mean, I'm very open. I mean, they see my scars. I walk around naked, whatever. But I didn't want them to really see me if I was going to get really sick. And I slept most of the day anyway. So I was very fortunate to have my parents be able to take them that entire weekend, especially with doing the AC, the Red Devil,
Mm-hmm.
because I was so afraid that I really was going to be really sick on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Now I had ended up after doing that, I had to do 12 weeks of Taxol, and that one was fine. I went in on a Friday. I slept all day. I was working the next day. I mean, I worked the entire time.
Yeah.
I was on
Wow.
doing my chemo. And so again, I was fortunate because it didn't hit me as hard, as some other women have it.
Yeah. Which, and that's just, it's the luck of the draw, really, in
Yeah.
terms of medications. Fortunately, they're coming up with newer medications all the time. That's one of the things that Susan G. Komen is investing in, is alternative
Mhm.
medicines that will help people. And sometimes it's we actually funded this Theralink, which is I actually have a video. They did a Q&A, but it's a test that they can do on the tumor that decides exactly what medications will work on that individual's tumor. And what a great way to help eliminate breast cancer, which is what we're
Yeah,
trying
that's
to do.
crazy. So besides those other two books, Sherry,
I
so
noticed you have two more back there.
Yeah, I've got two more back there. So I'm writing. So the first one, The Courage, Hope, and Strength, it's just a writing journal. It's blank pages, but it's got, some on the side pictures, like just some quotes, like stay strong and power on, just to give you
Yeah.
some inspiration. But my other one I'm pretty proud of too. It's the Breast Cancer GPS. So this will really help the newly diagnosed. So it tells you, I mean, when I went in, I mean, fortunately and unfortunately, I knew other women that had gone through breast cancer. And so my one girlfriend, Jamie, who this journal is actually dedicated to, she gave me like a medical history. She goes, take this into your doctor, fill it out, and then just give it to them so you don't have to repeat yourself every time.
Mm-hmm.
So I've incorporated that. I've got
Okay.
a whole bunch of questions to ask your surgeon, your oncologist, your plastic surgeon, did I say radiologist? Anyway, I've got a whole bunch of questions. Then I've got tips and tricks. So after you have your surgery, what do you need? What do you need at home? Chemo, what are some things that you want to take with you? And radiation, the lotions and things like that. So I've got tips and tricks from there. And then I've just got, blank pages where you can write your feelings, like, hey, I just met with the doctor, how are you feeling about that? And then I have a space, what other questions, do you want to ask? I mean, I may not have hit them all, or something else comes to your mind.
Absolutely.
So this is great for women who've been newly diagnosed, because you don't know where to start.
No. And so you sent me a link, which we will post at the bottom in all our posts. Are all 4 of these available with that link?
Yep. So right now they're all on Amazon.
Okay.
We're going to post my website too, because I'm starting a blog. And you of course, anyone, you can get a link to my YouTube videos as well. Because I'll still continue doing all of that. But I just want to help, I mean, I feel like that's a passion of mine right now. And my husband, it's funny, when I was kind of going through that, and even before, he's like, what are you passionate about? And I kind of just lost everything.
Yeah.
And I don't know, cancer just kind of did something.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I had to get sick, but it kind of like burst something out of me that said, you got to help these women. I saw my cousin go through it. I mean, it's like I said, it still gives me chills that I saved my cousin's life. And so I'm on all these Facebook groups, and I see these women. I give what advice I can, and I always tell them, please reach out to me. And I'm serious. Like, even if I message you, like, please message me again. I want to help you get through it, because I've been there.
Right.
I've been there. I've done it.
Your website will have your blog on it as well?
Yep. I just started that. So, and I'm going to talk about whatever. I mean, how am I feeling? Whatever. I mean,
yeah.
My YouTube video, like I said, blog is my blogging that I've done a lot. So that shows, going through my whole cancer. And now this blog will be kind of like the aftermath. And I might even put on there like tips and tricks and just kind of things that I see that women are asking about on all these Facebook groups.
Yep. So
Yeah.
now, let me ask you really quickly then, do you have a Facebook group separate for the books, or is it just you? Okay.
Yep. No, I do. I have an author page.
Okay.
So,
Oh, I have that. Yes, I
yeah.
do. I do have
Yep.
that. All right, good. I just want to make sure we're posting everything. Those who want to connect with you can.
Yeah.
Um,
I'd love to talk to anybody. I mean,
totally make
like
that
I said,
available.
I'm an open book. I mean, I'll show you pictures. I just sent a woman a picture because she goes, well, how do your scars look? And I said, let me send you a picture.
Let me show you.
Right. And that's what I had because I had actually thought about doing, knew I didn't want implants,
Right.
but I was looking at the DIEP flap, which is another reconstruction where they actually take the fat and the skin from your abdomen. They could do it from your back and stuff. But I did so much research on there that I kind of swayed away, and I was like, I was gonna have to be under for 13 hours and
Oh,
more
yeah,
surgeries. And I said, you know what? I just want to move on.
yeah.
I was small chested anyway. And so I didn't care, but I had my kids and I'm like, I cannot go through all these surgeries. Like, I don't like pain. I don't want to be under, like, it's not for me.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with my decision. And,
Yeah.
I had to go with my gut. And when I was doing everything, because of course, when you find out, you only have like so many weeks. I mean, granted, I found out in November, my surgery was not even until January.
Okay.
So, but I still had to, figure out. I mean, I met with a plastic surgeon, but, I wasn't sure what direction I wanted to go. And then, hey, was my breast surgeon, were they going to get me as flat as I wanted, or did the plastic surgeon have to come back in? So it's like you had all these questions.
Right.
So
now, is that information in the breast cancer GPS?
Yeah.
Like
So those are those are definitely some questions in there. So it kind of all relates. And of course, it depends. Some people, like my cousin ended up doing a lumpectomy, but she ended up also doing a breast reduction.
Oh, okay.
Because she was large anyway. And she goes,
Mhm.
I've been wanting to do one. I might as well get it done, and some, it also depends, if you're BRCA positive.
Right.
Luckily I was negative, so I didn't have to do a hysterectomy. Knock on wood, I'm hoping, but who knows what the future is going to hold. I don't
Right.
have to do anything. So it's like, it's all those types of, it's still kind of what ifs in my head. Like, I don't know if something happens down the road.
Right. But you're getting tested, you're being checked like you're supposed to, and we're going to be on top of that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Every
Because
little bump and bruise.
I don't want another Facebook or Instagram or anything post that says, guess what? I would just like, no more.
Right. But now that I'm, I kind of joke. I mean, I was never like a hypochondriac, but now I am. Every little bump and bruise, I freak out. Like I had this ganglion cyst on my wrist and I was like, what is that? I'm freaking out. I'm like, is that cancer? Like, of course. Yeah. So now I've been good the past few years, even before cancer, to go to the dermatologist. I get my skin checked every year. I'm due for a colonoscopy. Because I did that again before you're really supposed to do a colonoscopy, because I have that in my family anyway.
Right.
So now that I have cancer, they're like, now you have to come even sooner. Yeah. So, it's like, you got to stay on top of it. And every little bump and bruise. I mean, I felt like I was doing a self-exam a few months ago and I felt something. I freaked out, called my oncologist, and he goes, let's get you in for a scan. I did. Luckily it was nothing. I think it was just, again, I was started to work out.
Yeah. But that's
okay. Because I'm like,
better be on top of it. Right?
Yeah. I'm like, every bump and bruise now, I'm like, what's going on with my body? But it's just, and I don't think that will ever end, unfortunately. But as long as it's okay
to be in tune with your body, though. Yeah. That's okay, right? Yeah.
And I'm going to teach my girls young. I mean, the minute they start developing. Yeah. Because honestly, I didn't really know all about the different breast stuff. With like your nipple discharge. Yes. Or the boob is indented. Like I didn't really realize all of that. And so now I've got the thing hanging in my shower because I've got a stepdaughter. Yeah. And I said to her too, you've got to check your breasts. Yeah. So I've got that hanging in the thing and I'm like, you better do your self exams. You better know your body. Yes, exactly.
Wow. And then look, good things did come out of it. One, you are healthy now.
Yep. Awesome. I'm NED, I guess we call it. No
NED,
evidence of
that's
disease.
What we call it. No evidence of disease. Yay. And you're prepared to help other people through this crazy time. So including kids. So that's when you told me about the book, I was like, yes, absolutely. Actually, I think what we'll do is we're going to actually purchase a few of them as an organization, and I'm going to use them as prize giveaways for our
Awesome.
walk. Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. I think it'll be awesome. We have people that know people that have breast cancer. It will help them as well, even if it's just it's an all around good thing. So I'm really excited. So one of the things is we will put all of your connection information at the bottom in our notes so people can find you on Facebook, YouTube, and they can find the website. And I'm excited, but I'm really proud of you. Who
Thank
knew
you.
when you were, gosh, I must have known you when you were 20 then, like in
Yeah,
your
so
20s.
yeah, because I moved to Arizona in 2000, so I was just graduated college.
Yeah,
Right? So I must have been 21, 22. So yeah,
yeah.
and I'm 42 now. So
I love it. But so the downside of that is it also makes me 20 years older. Oh! That's okay. I'm gonna be fine. It's gonna be
no,
fine.
you're beautiful. You look beautiful.
Yeah, I know that's because I color my hair though. I'm like, that's my secret. Awesome. Marcy, thank you so much for joining us. Like I said, I will include all the links below, and we're going to keep our eye on you. If you write another book or do something, we might have to have you back on to talk about that.
Absolutely.
And I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was so much fun.
Woohoo!